Now we're out in the park, Ballyfoyle area, Ballyfoyle, County Kilkenny, and this is the house that Dean drove into with the taxi to buy the car. So he drove into this house here, came from this direction in the taxi, drove out here, drove into that house, bought the car, drove out of here and drove down to the end of this road here. As you can see, that bend, just around that bend Dean crashed the car. And this is where the story becomes really unclear, because we know he crashed the car and made his way back, and at some stage, we don't know the time frame because the guards won't really explain it to us, but sometime he made his way back up here and into this house here to notify the people that there was a car out on the road that was after being crashed. So strange as that sounds, that's the story we have so far. Now this house and that house, there's two brothers living together, well, side by side, their family anyway. So we'll just kind of continue the story on from what we know. Dean went in and notified the people that there was a car coming. We know at some stage, we're not too sure the time frame, that there was another car interfered with out here. The guards are saying that the car was parked in some lane somewhere, but the person who owns the house and the car is saying that Dean never made it out of the driveway. So we're still trying to figure all that out. So with that, we know that Dean made his way along this road, we're assuming on foot, because, how are you doing, Daggy? We're assuming on foot. Now, we only recently found out too that there might have been one or two houses out here, the guard said interfered with, but sure, we don't have any real proof, because the guards are not giving us any kind of real story at all, just that Dean was out here and that there was a house interfered with or whatever. But we'll find out hopefully in time. But we're just following the path that we know that Dean took until the guards come out and contradict and give us a proper story. This is the one we have, so this is all we can stick by. We just want to know if something happened to Dean out here. We're not saying that anything did happen to Dean out here, but there's two sides to every story, and at the minute all we have is one side, and that's the side of the hearsay and the conspiracy theories, because the guards haven't come out after all this time, 18 months down the road. The guards haven't come out and told us, okay, we know Dean went from A to B and landed up at C. All we have is Dean is out here somewhere. So, and we know the people at Ballyfoyle, this is a lovely area out here, and the people are not used to having strangers coming and interrupting their way of life and pointing fingers and questioning what happened, but we have to do it. He's missing now 18 months, like we said, and we're still no closer to finding what happened. And the stories and the stuff that happened out here, it's just too strange to ignore it. So we're just following the path that Dean would have took. I keep saying, it's right along this road. We're going to come to a house, a lady by the name of Maureen Dowling. I refer to her in some of my posts as Mrs. X, but I think as time goes by you get a bit pissed off at trying to protect people, but we didn't want to put her name out there in case, but we had to. We're not blaming Maureen Dowling for anything or accusing her of anything, but the story that she told us that evening that Dean, about the evening Dean went missing, we think is strange enough that it warrants more than 10 seconds on crime call with the wrong information. But we'll get to that story now in a couple of minutes. So we're walking along, approaching Mrs. Dowling's house. Kind of a bit nervous here now, because I'm not saying that anyone is going to do anything, but just have this feeling out here that. And there's a house off to the left hand side. We don't know if that's the house that Dean went into, because the guards haven't told us anything. And when we're finished this, we're going to film ourselves driving out of Ballyfoyle. We should have done it on the way in, just to show you how deep and how far out in the countryside Dean It's quite a ways out from Kilkenny. So now this is Maureen Dowland's house. This is what we believe is the last person to speak to Dean alive before he went missing. Let me try and run through it a bit here now. Mrs. Dowland said that on the 22nd of March, the evening Dean went missing, she either noticed some kind of noise or some kind of something. She walked over her house and she seen Dean Roche standing in the driveway. Now, according to her, she asked Dean was he okay and if he needed help, and at that stage Dean said he wasn't okay and that he did need help. So Maureen told us that she turned around and went in to get her phone, but when she came back out, Dean was gone. So she had assumed that he went down at the side of the house because she could remembering hearing a faint muffled noise like somebody on a phone trying to talk, but she wasn't too sure. So she said 10 minutes after she seen Dean in the driveway. Now, bearing in mind it was dark out here, pitch black dark, 9 o'clock in the evening. It was 9 o'clock because she recalls just the news that was on. So she said about 10 minutes after she seen Dean in the driveway and he disappeared after that, she said a large silver car came down this road at speed, she said, along this road and headed that direction. Now she said, that's Dean's mum trying to hide behind the bin there, she might be on camera. Sorry, Jar.
Okay, love.
Now she said the car came at speed, but she was standing in her driveway, so the car must have stopped close enough because she heard, get in the car, get the fuck in the car, get in, get in, get in. Now, as time went by and we explained this story to Garda, the guards turned around and said, well, our lads were out here at that time. Well, we need to know whether it was the guards or not, because this whole thing, this could be the key to the whole thing. Even on Crime Line, when the guards did their reconstruction of, they left out the silver car. Now, we're saying this silver car could be very, very important. It could have nothing got to do with it. It could have been a car just happened to be driving by that evening. It could have been a Garda car, but because of all the strange happenings in this story, we need to know who that car was and who was in it. We need to know, we need it eliminated from this story, because until it's clarified and cleared up, we'll assume that it had something got to do with Dean's disappearance. Now, why the guards are refusing to acknowledge this car is another mystery, but we'll keep on going with it, even though the guards don't want us to. We're just going to show you now. Now, Maureen Dowland said that she assumed Dean went down the side of her house and into the fields. Now, we're just going to show you the fields that the guards have been concentrating their search efforts on, just to let you know how wide it is and how big it is. According to the guards, Dean was seen by locals in this field on the evening he went missing. Now, we want to know what locals there were. Who were they? Was it a definite sighting of Dean? And which way did he seem to be running or going? Because the guards seem to be concentrating all their efforts for a very long time. I'm just going to try and zoom this in. All along that area there is an area known as the Glen. Now, there's a big drop. If you were to run from here straight through down to that gate, there's a 20-foot drop down into it. So we've searched that area ourselves many times now. According to the guards, every farmhouse and every hen house, whatever you want to call it, has been searched out in this area, but we tend to not believe them because we weren't present on many of the searches. We were just told the searches were done, weren't notified when they were being done. Only on 2 occasions, and they were the big searches, and one of them we like to refer to it as the farce search because they done it for crime call and it was absolutely ridiculous. You know, it was a show, that's all it was. But you see, this is the area here that Dean was last was, and it's quite a big area, okay, but you're kind of thinking after 18 months, if he was still lying out here somewhere, that they would have found him. And we say, after all the searches that they've done, we say we would have found him, but did they do these searches? I don't think they did. So we just want to know what happened out here Where was that silver car? Who's driving that silver car? Was it guards that were in the silver car? Maureen Dowling needs to be held. The guards tried to tell us that we came out here a couple of times and it seems that Mrs. Dowling's story was changing, and the guards' explanation for it was that over time people's memory they kind of forget things, or they add a bit this, that and the other, but the thing that's sticking in our minds is when Maureen Dowling was describing Dean and the way he was that evening, she went into too fine a detail just for it to be something made up on the fly. So even if it was little bits here and there, some of it has to be true. I believe that there was a car. So just to show you again, that's Mrs. Dowling's house. We're kind of nearly on the level of where her driver and her front door would be. So again, she's saying the large silver car went flying by that direction and stopped very, very suddenly up there, enough so that she could hear the screeching halt, as she described it. Now, if it was a guard, what we're thinking, we can't really imagine a guard using that kind of language. Just if there was two guards driving up the road and they seen Dean in the field, even if one of them jumped out, you can't imagine another guard screaming as frantically as he was, get in the car, get the fuck in the car, get in, get in, get in. Whereas if there was guards driving along the road and they happened to come across Dean, then I'd imagine they'd use that language to try and get in, get in, get in. Now, we're not saying that Dean ended up in the back of a squad car and was hauled out of Ballyfoyle, but is it possible? Maybe, because we have no other evidence that contradicts anything. As far as the guards are concerned, they're concentrating their investigation out here along these fields and in these ditches. The slurry pits were supposed to be done. We were informed by Joe Carton at our last meeting that the slurry pits were done. We requested that myself, Damien Hipwell, speaking here at a minute, myself and Geraldine Roche be present when this was happening. We were met again with text messages of, I'll ask the super or I'll get onto it. And that's coming from the liaison officer. Now, we like the liaison officer very much, but he's just not really liaising too much to us, because I don't know if he's in the loop or whatever. But even after the days after Dean went missing, now I'm just kind of following a little path here, like cow. We're just following a little path here now of, because this is the story. We've been told that this is the story, what we believe to be, I don't believe it's true, but this is the story we've been told. The guards reckon that Dean would have ran down here and headed towards the lights, as they say, but I don't know. I just don't know. If he's lying out here somewhere after 18 months and he's just been forgotten about. And even after the guards found, well, they didn't find it, but they told us that his SIM card was still giving off some kind of signal as being out here. So that would suggest that he lost a phone maybe when he was running or trying to hide somewhere. But how far could you get in the black of can't see your hand in front of your face, and you're running down here and you're navigating through all these electric fences without making any noise, and then make your way down there into that thick brush somewhere? How far could you get realistically? Do you know, all we're asking is that they step up their efforts to try and find Dean and clear up a few inconsistencies that what we think are inconsistencies anyway. A couple of days after Dean went missing, we were out here talking to a few of the neighbours. One neighbour recalled seeing three men running through the field, three silhouettes of three men running through the field. He said he recalled because the horse went bonkers and he saw three men running through the field. Who were these three men? Is it just a coincidence that they were out there that night, Dean was out there, or what is it? It just needs to be cleared up. And the guards are adamant. Now, we're not saying that Dean was murdered out here in Ballyfoyle. We're not saying that at all. But because we have no proof that Dean got out of here, or whatever, all the stories that we're hearing is Dean got ran off the road, Dean was beat up by farmers, and because we have no evidence and no proof to suggest otherwise, that's all we have to believe in. Now, the guards are saying that Dean wasn't beat up and he wasn't murdered, because their theory is 2 or 3 people couldn't do it because 2 or 3 people couldn't keep a secret. I never heard so much rubbish in my whole life. And that 2 or 3 people couldn't carry a dead body and dispose of it. Now, take that whatever way you want it either. But that's the reason why the guard said it wasn't done, because it just didn't happen, and that's the end of it. But all that may be fair enough and correct, but we need clearance and clarification as to this silver car. We need it eliminated out of the equation, because until it's not, we'll continue to keep coming out here, and as the guard says, we'll continue to spread our conspiracy theories, because that's all we have to go on at the minute. We do think it's an absolute disgrace that the guards are confident that Dean is still out here, but couldn't be asked to come out and look for him. Because why is it? Is it just, you know, you see these searches, people going missing on the telly, and how awful it is, and you see people out in their hundreds searching for that missing person, and rightfully so. You know, at the end of the day, they're human beings. Dean made a few mistakes in his life. We all made a few mistakes, but you know, the things go too far out here after he ran into these fields. Was he bundled into the back of a car? Was he dumped somewhere? Why don't the guards care, and why won't the guards tell the whole story? Now, the guards are telling us that there was 1 or 2 houses interfered with out here, and there was a handbag took out here, and if that's the case, we are deeply ashamed that that happened. Dean's mother is highly mortified that that happened, and she even offered through the guards to pay back any money that was stolen or whatever. But we need to know. We're wondering, are the guards not telling us the whole story because they're trying to... we just don't know. Since this whole thing started, the guards have not come out once and sat down with the family like you think they would in any normal investigation and say, right, we know he went from A to B and ended up here. None of that. There's been none of that. All we know is that, and even the evening that Dean crashed the car, the guards were alerted that there was a crashed car on the side of the road. They made their way out to Ballyfile, and they came across the car with the logbook in it with Dean's name and address on it. And given the situation, quiet rural area like this, a crashed car, a logbook, things after being interfered with, you know, and they just said to themselves, we'll get Dean on Tuesday, because he might have been up in court on the Tuesday. They didn't even have the decency to come in to Dean Roche's house that evening and let the family know that he might have been involved in some kind of collision out in Ballyfile. Now, had they have done that, maybe we would have had some kind of a jump start and tried to contact Dean straight away, but because of that, we didn't. Everybody went to bed that Sunday night and just assuming Dean was somewhere. This is just, we'd never assumed that this would have happened. But, you know, we just need to know what's going on. When is the next searches happening out here? Why aren't the guards keeping us in the loop? Why don't the guards just come out and tell the whole story, the whole truth about what they have on Dean out here? Why won't they tell the whole truth? Are they afraid of implicating people in it, or bringing up stories that don't make sense? They mightn't be true, but there's not a lot of sense to the story. They don't want to ruffle any feathers. And again, we know the people out in Ballyfile, they have a lovely countryside out here, lovely area to live. They're not used to people coming out here with camcorders walking around talking like lunatics with conspiracy theories and this, that and the other. But we need to find out what happened. It's 18 months down the line here, and Dean could be laying out here somewhere in a ditch. Either by his own accord, did he run and get lost and stumble into something out here? We don't know. Or did something else happen to him? And the slurry pits. The guard said that the slurry pits are being searched. Now that says to us, if the slurry pits are being searched, are they searching them just to appease Dean's mother, just to say, oh yeah, we're doing them? Or are they searching them because they think they could be of interest? And why would they think that they could be of interest? We personally don't think Dean would have walked along in the pitch of black, got out of all this stuff here, and then wandered into a slurry pit on his own accord. I don't think so at all. There's just a lot of stuff that has to be cleared up out here. And the person that sold Dean the car, we're not saying that he did anything wrong, but we know that after Dean crashed the car and he made his way back to the house, it's the time frame that doesn't fit into any of this. Where did Dean get the time to do all this? Did he drive out here, drive in and get the car, crash it, go off, interfere with a few places? After he interfered with a few places, did he go and alert the people that there was a car out on the road to alert other drivers to be careful? Then did he try to take the car? The person who owned the car came out of the house, asked him what he was doing, asked him then, never mind the fact that he came out of his house and there was a stranger trying to steal his car. Do you know, any normal person, I myself would have, you know, you jump on the person, or you know, you'd react in a way. The one way you probably wouldn't react is to offer someone who you think is stealing their car, offer them a lift into town. That doesn't make sense at all, not one bit. And you know, the stories of one or two people out here that there was locals out looking for Dean and that he was in some kind of... you know, none of it makes sense. All we want is the truth. If Dean is out here laying down somewhere, we want to find him. Why can't they just come out and search the areas and find him? How come when we went and got our own volunteer, a search and rescue volunteer team contacted myself on Facebook and asked could they get involved? So of course we were delighted with the help. We brought them out here. They weren't out here half an hour. And the guards were denying this, but they weren't out here half an hour when they were told to move on by the guards. Why? Why don't they want us out here asking questions? Well, we're out here asking questions, and we're going to keep asking questions for as long as it takes. And again, we keep apologising to the people of Ballyfoyle. We know, as the guards have said, the good people of Ballyfoyle are not in the habit of beating up people and throwing them into the boot of their cars. We know that. But is it possible that a scuffle could have broke out somewhere and Dean could have fell and hurt himself? People panic, and they could have tried to do something to get rid of him. We don't know. And then is there the possibility that Dean made it out of Ballyfoyle? Because according to Maureen Dowling, that silver car headed towards Castlecomer after all the ruckus. So was Dean in that car? Who was in that car? Why won't they eliminate it out of your equations? And even on Crime Line, why didn't they even mention that car? I've seen things on Crime Line for minor little things that got every little detail said, and the little video package, the whole reconstruction thing, perfect. We think there's enough strange things in this case of Dean that warrants, like I said before, more than 10 seconds on Crime Line and the wrong information. We just want the guards just to come out and tell us the truth once and for all. What Dean did out here. Do they not want to tell us what Dean did out here because it lends more weight to the fact that there was people out here looking for him that evening, and rightly so. If someone came into my house and tried to take anything, I'd follow him too. But do you cross the line if you beat someone up and throw them into the back of your van and drive off? That's crossing the line. Whatever happened to Dean Roche out here, folks, more than likely he walked himself into the trouble. But like I keep saying in some of the posts and stuff like this, as each day passes, as much as it is about Dean and as much as we want him home, it's much more about the effect that this is having on his family. And the guards, if you come out now with some kind of counter to this, which you probably won't because you just assume we're idiots anyway and we just, it'll go away after a few days. But, you know, you need to come out and tell us the truth. Tell us what happened out here, what you know. And Maureen Dowling needs to clear up her stories. I'm not saying she's lying, or people's memories can get a bit hazy and fuzzy through out the course of time, but she told us such a detailed story that some of us have to be true. She couldn't have, even if she did assume some other thing, she was adamant that that car, you know, the shouting and the screaming and the this, that and the other, you know, we need to know what happened out here, just for the sake of Dean's family, because it's the effect that it's having on Keith's brother, or Dean's brother Keith, his brother Eamon, his niece Sophie, everybody, his son Jamie, everyone is being affected by this. Where is he? Why isn't there people helping? Why are the guards treating Dean's mother and like the way they treat her? They treat her with as it's absolutely gobsmacking. Considering what's going on here, that there's an actual Dean is, no matter what he was, folks, at the end of the day he was a human being, you know, and he deserves some kind of closure to all this. So I hope this little video is useful, just to show you the path of what we believe was Dean's last footsteps, and just to show you the area of where he could be. But ask yourself, how far could he be? Do you know, how far could he have gotten in the pitch black of night? And even if Dean made it out here, the first place he would have came is home, to get change of clothes, to get whatever. Do you know, there's just too many strange things that happened out here. The last time we were talking to Maureen Dowling, another bit added into it, that there was a man coming up the road with a torch looking for Dean. There was locals out here that evening looking for Dean. So make of it what you will, but there's enough strange things going on here just to to blow it under the carpet. We need certain parts of the story eliminated so we can move on to the next part. As long as the guards don't clear up exactly what happened out here and tell us exactly what happened out here, we'll be out here. We have to. As Dean's family, we have to. We're just going to keep it recording here now. We're going to head up here now, keep it recording, and we're going to film the journey back in. We should have done it on the way out, but we're going to film the journey back in just to show you how far out in the countryside that Dean did end up. It was rural. We're going to head in there now. I did. Yeah, I told him. I said it. But that's what the guards were saying. That's the last place he was seen. So, just another shot from up here just to show you how big the place is. But we just want to know, the guards are maintaining that Dean is out here somewhere. We want them to come out here and find him, just to end this and get rid of and eliminate some of these inconsistencies and stories. This silver car, the Maureen Dowling said she's seen and heard, and the scuffle and the shouting after it has to be cleared up. I'm going to lock that gate. But I know a lot of people will be following the posts and watching the posts, and it's greatly appreciated by myself and most importantly Dean's family and everybody involved in this, because it's no secret at this stage that Dean was in a bit of bother. But everybody knows that it doesn't matter how much bother you were in. If something like this happens, you deserve closure, some kind of closure, and that's all we're asking for. We said it loads of times, we don't mean to be out here disrupting anyone's way of life or whatever. We just want closure so we can bring Dean home and let everyone get on with their lives and let everyone move on. But I hope this little video was somewhat helpful just to show you the area. I know there's lots of people following the post and his Dean Roche missing person posts, and you're trying to imagine in your head, as I'm describing it on the page, what the landscape looks like. But this is it right here. This is where, according to the guards, Dean Roche is lying somewhere. So why haven't they been out here searching? They told us they've been out here. They told us they've done numerous searches out here. But we're only aware of 2 or 3 big searches out here. We want the slurry pit search. They said they were going to do that. We requested that we be present when it's being done, and we've been ignored. So guards, if you're looking at this, it's the truth. You're liars. You're liars. And if you're covering up something, we won't stop until it's out. We'll be out here all the time until this is over. We have a few little things up our sleeve, and what are we supposed to do as a family? Just walk away and take your word for it that Dean is out here and you're doing everything you can when you've been ignoring us for months and months on end. So that's it now, folks. I hope you got a little gist of Dean's last journey. Just one more little time. Just around that corner is where Dean bought the car. He walked up along this road, went in there to Maureen Dowling's house. She seen him in the driveway. She said he was confused and disorientated. Again, why would she go into so much detail about that if she was only trying to remember a story on the fly? He was confused and disorientated. He asked for help. She asked him was he okay. He said no, he needed help. She went in we're assuming, to grab her phone. Now the guards can fill in all the blanks about what was disturbed out here and what was interfered with in here. We're not trying to dodge it here on this. We don't know, because the guards haven't told us. We want them to come out and tell us the whole truth of what happened out here that evening and why they're not telling us the whole truth. And this silver car was here. As much as the guards like to pass it and it was nobody, that silver car was here. And it may or may not have played a part in it, but we need to eliminate it from the equation just so we can concentrate on other things. Now, that's Maureen Dowling's house. According to the guards, Dean was last seen in this field. And then that car that Maureen Dowling said would have came flying down this road, and we're assuming stopped right at that corner because it was close enough for Maureen Dowling to hear, to get the fuck in the car, get in, and she assumed it drove off towards Castlecomer. So we just need all that cleared up, and hopefully this little video helps people get a little picture in their head of the area of where we are and how big it is. We're just going to keep it recording on the way back in, just to show you the distance that Dean travelled from Kilkenny out here. So it is quite rural out here. It's but that's all. Thanks people for taking the time just to have a look at this little video. Whether it be helpful or not, we don't know, but just to let people know, and just to let the guards know that we have other plans out here, and we're not going to stop until Dean is found, one way or the other. Whether he's out here or not, we need to know what happened. So we'll just keep it recording now as we're heading back in. We're going to travel the same road but in the opposite direction of when Dean came, just to, so you can fast forward it on your computers or whatever you're watching this on. But sorry, just to give you an old of how far he travelled in from Kilkenny to buy this car. And if the guards come out, if they do view this, or they let on that they don't, I don't mind, I don't really care now at this stage. But take my word for it, folks, the guards have not been helping us one bit. They treat us like some kind of suspects in something. And we understand they're trying to emphasise the point that the people out in Ballyfile are a bit paranoid and this, that and the other. But we understand that. We understand that they have a picture of Dean Roche in their head as some kind of boogeyman that was out there trying to rob their house or do whatever. But the fact is that Dean went out there to buy a car, and a local man out there sold him a car that might have been roadworthy, might have wasn't. The guards are refusing us to get the car back so we can have a look at it ourselves. So, you know, we're coming out here because this is where the trail bought Dean, and, you know, the guards might come out after this and say that they've done this and they've done that, but they haven't. They're not keeping us, well, whatever about me, Geraldine's mother, they're not keeping Geraldine's mother in the loop at all, or Dean's mother, about what's going on out here at all. They're absolutely not. No matter if they come out now with some kind of statement saying that they've informed Geraldine of this or they've informed Geraldine of that, they're lying through their teeth. They've informed Geraldine about nothing. Searches. Every search, like I said, if they've done out here has been a farce. It's either been a search coming up to an anniversary or near a birthday or near Christmas. And why haven't they found him if he's out here? Why haven't they found his phone or his SIM card or whatever was giving off some kind of signal the last few days after Dean went missing? There was some kind of signal coming off his phone. You know, they had the army out here, and fair play to the army. The time we come out now, the army were doing their bit now. They were really giving it a good thorough search. Well, again, the guards, there was probably two of them just standing there looking at them. Now we understand too that Dean is not the biggest priority in Ireland, that there's other things happening in Ireland and in Kilkenny, and there's other crimes being committed, and guards' resources are being stretched to the limit. But you think that they'd give a little time just to even come up to the family, and like I said, since this whole thing started, not once, like you think would happen in any case of missing person, that they bring the family into the guard station or even come up to the house and sit down and have some kind of a chart or some kind of a plan that they've drawn up saying that we know Dean went from here to here to here to here. They haven't done any of that. Nothing. And we're starting to think, are they not saying anything that Dean interfered with this place or Dean interfered with that place? Why aren't they making that public knowledge? And why aren't they acknowledging this silver car? Are they not doing that because it lends more weight to our argument that something happened to Dean out there because people were looking for him because he interfered with their property? And even the second car that they're saying that Dean interfered with, you know, the guards are saying that the car was parked in a laneway somewhere, where the man who actually owns the fucking car is saying that Dean never got it out of the driveway. So who's telling the truth? And who's lying? And why are they lying? You know, and you can see the journey out here was quite, it's a long journey, you know. There's lots of things, just like I keep saying, don't make sense about this, and we just need to find out what's going on. And Chiefs, I've said it 1,000 times already, I've said it on my posts, I've said it everywhere. We apologise to the people of Ballyfoyle for bringing this attention to them and their nice way of life out here. But we have no choice. We have no choice. And the thing about, like I was saying there a few minutes ago, the people of Ballyfoyle have this picture of Dean in their head as some kind of boogeyman that came out to rob them or do this, that and the other, and that they're afraid of anyone else coming out to look for Dean might be another kind of a boogeyman. But I can assure you, any person in Ballyfoyle is looking at this, that the people that are going out to look for Dean are good, honest, decent people. And as crazy as this may seem now to some people, Dean was the very same. He was just in the grip of a terrible, terrible heroin addiction that led him to do things that he wouldn't do, normally wouldn't do. Dean was a good, kind, loving person with a good heart. He would give you the shirt off his back. It's unfortunate that this happened. And his son Jamie needs to find out what happened to his father. He's having people, kids, how easy it is to access everything on the internet these days. Kids can go onto the internet there and type in Dean Roche's name and it just comes up that he's missing, and then you have kids going onto his page, and if people are leaving negative comments, you have his child reading it and there's drugs brought up and oh, he was a druggie, he was into this, that and the other. This needs to be ended for him too. We don't want him growing up throughout his life wondering about his father and people telling him stories about his father. Do you know, we need to know what happened to him. Dean has a lot of people on his side. Good, honest, decent people, like the people who live in Ballyfoyle. And it's just such a shame that the guards can't see that. They just assume that Dean is some kind of, fuck him, he's another fucking junkie. Fuck him, he was no good to anybody. And that's the reality of it here. That's what's going on. The guards do not care. It was even said to me by a guard out there during one of the searches that you can bet your ass that this is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. There'll be a lot more done than what's being done now. Why are the guards not keeping the family in the loop about anything? They're bringing us up to the station for the meeting. We had a meeting up there about 2 months ago, and we were reassured at that meeting that 1 month from today there'll be another meeting with another update and another this, that and the other. And what happened? Nothing. We text the liaison officer to find out what's going on with the meeting, and he knows this, that and the other, and all we keep getting is, oh, I didn't hear anything yet, or I'll get on to the super, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. They're all full of shite. They're full of shite. The whole lot of them. At the end of the day, it just comes down to a bit of decency in you. If Dean is lying out there, go out there and find him and bring him home. It's going on too long. Coming up on 18 months now, another Christmas there, sitting down wondering. Like I said, as much as it is about Dean, and as much as we love him and miss him so much, every day this goes on, it's becoming more and more about Dean's family and the effect it's having on them. His son. Just a little example of how much this plays on his son's mind. About 3 months ago, himself and a couple of friends went off to some kind of dilapidated house or derelict house or something like that, and kids were messing. Kids do things, they mess. Well, Jamie got locked into a little garden or some kind of sideway, and he couldn't get out. Now he panicked and he freaked and he started screaming, and the one thought that was on his mind was he thought that they were going to leave him there and not look for him, like the way they left his daddy and they didn't look for his daddy. Now come on, what kind of a thing is that for a little kid to be going around carrying in his brain? Do you know, that they just went off and left his father lying there somewhere, didn't bother looking for him, all because of what they thought he was. Do you know, it's not right. Even if once a month, we're not saying get out to Ballyfoyle every day until you find Dean. We're just saying show some kind of interest in what, you know, have a bit of respect for the fact that we're looking for a body here now, more than likely. And the whole possibility, did Dean get out of Ballyfoyle? But until all these things are cleared up in Ballyfoyle, we'll never know, because everything suggests that he didn't get out of Ballyfoyle. And that's why we're so concentrated on Ballyfoyle. And there's a few people then that think I'm actually a disgrace for running down the guards the way I do. But you have to understand, this is 18 months of just being lied to and frustration and just being treated like, we're being treated like we done something. Dean's mother, Geraldine there, no involvement in crime throughout her whole life, worked hard her whole life, paid her taxes, the whole lot. treated like she's some kind of criminal because her son got into a bit of trouble and she's paying for it, and she'll pay for it for the rest of her life. Oh, she's asking, we're not asking, like I said, to go out there every day to try and find Dean, but maybe once a month, once every 3 weeks, just go out there, send a few buddies out there and let us know what's going on, keep us in the loop. Why can't we get involved in the searches? They're talking about, oh, if you walk into someone's land you might get hurt, this, that and the other. Just put yourselves in our shoes. I couldn't give a feck if I thought my child was in a field and there was landmines in there and bulls, I'd still walk through them. I wouldn't care about getting hurt. They're coming up with these little bitty excuses for us to stay away from Ballyfoyle. But we just can't do it anymore, folks. This is, I know there's been gaps in posts and stuff like that, but in reality there's only a couple of people looking after this and keeping this thing going. Do you know, and on top of all that, there's other things in life we have to get on with too. But and keep this going for Dean. It's not easy, but that's why I keep saying thank you so much for everyone that takes the time to look at these posts and leave a nice comment over. And thanks to all the people who thought about leaving bad comments but resisted it, because, you know, we've asked, if you have anything negative to say about Dean, please, private messages, don't leave it up there for his kid to read. We already know that Dean had a heroin addict. We know he did some bad things. We know all that. But our point is now that Dean doesn't know anybody anything. He's paid for what he done. As far as we're concerned, he's paid for what he done. He doesn't know anybody a damn thing. Not that anybody owes us anything. That's what, we're not saying that. But all we ask is for a little bit of help. How far could he have gone out here? Why won't the guards eliminate the silver car from the equation? Maureen Dowling, if her story keeps changing over and over again, some parts of it have to be still true. You know, I understand the whole, if I tell you a story now and in 6 months time there might be a bit added or taken away from the story, I understand that, but essentially the whole story stays the same. You know, and I believe that when we went out there and she told us what happened that evening, I believe that that's what she saw and heard. So whether or not it's changing over time because people, as you know, might be involved in this, that and the other, we're not saying that they are involved, but possible but highly unlikely. Until we have anything else to dismiss all of them conspiracy theories, as the guards call them, that's all we have to go on. So we're nearly coming to the end of this road here now. If you were paying any attention there or just got distracted from me waffling on, I apologise, but that's the length of the road, and that Dean went out to Ballyfoyle. It's quite rural and it's really quite out there. So did he get out there? We'll never know. Maybe we'll never know. But if the guards keep continuing not to help us, then we'll never know. But the next step maybe is we go out to Ballyfoyle and we're angry. We don't want to get in a confrontation with anyone. But if they confront us, I personally will tell them where to go anyway. I'll be walking onto people's land there even if they tell me not to. I'm looking for a loved one here, folks. We're not just looking for a fucking cat or a set of keys. Now we're back in Kilkenny there now. I'm going to shut this off there now, and hopefully when it's uploaded you can just have a look and just see for yourself the area where Dean went and little things I was saying. If you pick up on, you know, just leave a comment or whatever, or just tell us what you think basically of it. And until then anyway, thanks very much everyone for the interest, and peace and love to everyone. Thank you.